Hey there, Attack on Titan fans! Welcome to another episode of the Attack on Titan After Show on AFTERBUZZ TV. Tonight we are talking about episode 28, Southwestward. I guess it's true what they say, you really can't go home again. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin!
Not even gonna lie, guys, this song, the new opening song has really grown on me.
Yeah,
same.
I feel like I was more accepting of this one than I was initially of Wings of Freedom because, like, I was ready for there to be a new song, whereas, like, when Wings of Freedom came in, I was like,
very abrupt.
Why did you change it? But now you know that I also love Wings of Freedom, so it took longer, but this one I was like, oh, I'm all in. Like, day one, ready, good, let's do it. Let's go.
I've still been scouring the internet for a full version, and the only one that exists right now is people just looping it. Yeah. And I'm like, dang it must not be out yet. Yeah. So the second that changes, I'm gonna be super jazzed to see what the full song sounds like. But hey there, guys! Welcome to another episode of the Attack on Titan After Show on AFTERBUZZ TV. Let me go ahead and introduce my fantastic panel. To my left, the lovely Emma Fyffe.
That's me, Emma Fyffe, and you can find me at my name. It's Emma Fyffe, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that because there's probably a lower third that says it, so you know how to spell it.
To her left, the lovely Alexis Torres.
Hey everybody, you guys can find me all over the interwebs at atorres890 with a very scraggly voice as of right now.
It's like kind of sexy. I'm into it.
Yeah,
you got like a Kathleen Turner thing going on.
Yeah,
like,
it's
great.
the Phoebe Buffet, like smoky, like smelly cat.
I mean, I could, but I'm not gonna do it right now.
Unfortunately, Katie Cullen, guys, we sent her away because she might have been a Titan.
Yeah, well, she had to go. She had to go home, so she like went to the.
Oh no!
Why is it Emma? You never break me. What's happening?
She went home, and her entire village was destroyed, and no one was there, and it was just real upsetting. Right. So tweet her your wishes and condolences.
Just tweet her welcome home every 5 seconds.
At
That's amazing.
I'm Megan Salinas. You guys can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. We are going to be keeping an eye on the hashtag ABTVTitan, as well as an eye on the live chat. And if you guys haven't already done so, please go to iTunes to rate, subscribe, leave a comment. We love hearing from you. And you might even get a shout out on the show. I actually didn't check ahead of time to see whether or not iTunes had updated. So, well, we'll do it later in the show. We'll do it later in the show. So, yeah, you may get a shout out if you guys do that. Keep in mind, though, it takes iTunes a couple days to update.
That is true.
Before we get started, I also want to, and I'm probably going to say this at the beginning of every episode, please, 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 in the live chat and in the comments below, keep discussion to this episode alone. Some of the people on this panel have not read this portion of the manga, so please be courteous and no spoilers. And guys, here's the thing. The show may very well be diverting from the manga anyway, but don't use that as an excuse to spoil people. So, okay, let's go ahead and kind of get started. I wanted to get started with you, Alexis, because last week we talked a little bit about all of our backgrounds with Attack on Titan. So, like, I want to know, how did you get into this show?
So
this crazy, very upsetting show.
So for people who know me, you girls know this, I'm a very squeamish person, extremely squeamish. So I was like, when I first heard about this, I was like, oh, I'm never gonna watch this because I'm not gonna be able to do it, even though it's funny because I'm wearing an FMA shirt, which is also extremely squeamish.
Yeah, kind of a lot of body horror in that show.
Yeah,
right?
no, true, and I can get through that. So I was like, okay, maybe I can do it, but I don't know, I always put it on the back burner. My fiance now, boyfriend at the time, was like, hey, there's this anime, I need you to watch this now. I've already watched most of it, you need to watch this right now. And I was like, okay, I mean, we're only like a few months into our relationship, but I guess, yeah, that's fine. And so we sat down for a whole weekend and watched whatever that was there at the time.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, I need more of this. I need more of this in my life. And then it became kind of like our Saturday thing. We'd watch like an episode or two until it ended, and then we cried when season 1 ended, and then now it's been kind of like our thing. We actually, if you guys have been following me on social media, I bought our dog a Hobbit cloak, but when he runs around the house, it looks like he's got a little
scout.
Yeah,
it's
super cute.
So
but yeah, it's kind of been our thing. I mean, even then we still kind of talk about like different theories sometimes, and yeah, I think if he didn't really push me to watch the show, I would have never watched it, to be honest.
Right.
So, and I still haven't read the manga yet though. I've been kind of keeping my head in the dark.
So you guys are both people who have not read the manga and have somehow miraculously stayed spoiler-free for 4 years. So guys, do not blow it. I am begging you.
Oh god.
So yeah, talking about this episode, we could barely contain ourselves outside the studio because this was such a good episode.
I thought that this episode did a really nice job of balancing telling stories about a lot of different characters. So you got a lot from the characters who we spent most of season 1 with. You know, we got to see a lot more of Eren and Mikasa and Armin in this episode than we did in the previous 2.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, we got more from Ymir and Krista and like even just that like one little moment in the beginning that Connie's in is so good, and then Sasha comes back and it all like tied together really nicely while still feeling like you were getting just segments of stories of all the various characters that it's going to continue into the next episode, because this show is extremely episodic.
Yes. Yeah, this is...
Or extremely serial, rather. Like, if you skip an episode of Attack on Titan, you are lost.
Lost forever.
So much happens in a single episode.
And this is an excellent example of that, because they packed literally like 15 different storylines into one episode.
Yeah.
Alexis, what did you think?
No, I thought this was really good because I can't believe that I didn't even realize that it's been this long between seasons,
right?
Until I looked it up and I was like, no.
There's
no way. Yeah,
But
holy crap.
for a series that's been away for so long, it hasn't skipped a beat.
No, and
everything, the continuity, like in terms of the style of the show, the music, everything looks the same.
Yeah.
Like you just watched the end of season 1.
And they are fortunate from the point of view that like they do have a source material that they're working off of. The manga obviously exists. There is more story in the manga. And yes, do I think it's going to basically follow the manga? Sure, but you can't like conclusively say, oh, it's just gonna exactly be the manga, even if the storytelling is the exact same intent, because you look at something like Game of Thrones, which deviates from the books quite a lot, and at this point is past the point that we are in the books, but apparently it's supposed to have more or less the same ending that the books are going to have. They're just gonna take a slightly different route to get there.
It's like taking a shortcut.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I've actually really loved about the series, especially even though we've only had 3 episodes. I feel like we've gotten like steps further into the story within just a short amount of time, and I liked how you worded it, where you're like, we got a lot of content but also a lot of questions still being thrown at our faces.
Like Attack on Titan's super good about like, we're gonna answer some questions and then throw 15 more at you.
And that's what it felt like. But I also loved what we got, especially with I always call her Potato Girl, but
Sasha.
Yeah, I love that we got to see her backstory, even though it was like really tiny. We got to see what village she was part of. Also, I would love for someone to explain to me why she's so crazy about food, because I mean, I know I get hangry, but I feel like that scene was a bit much for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to do with just like, you know, she grew up in this kind of poor, isolated village, and we see obviously that her dad, for all that you would think he'd be like weird, get off my lawn, redneck dad, like he's actually like really very sweet, giving and nice, and like wants to help the people.
Yeah, he's all about like community and everything like that. So I think for Sasha, it was more like a bunch of people came in and food became very scarce.
Yeah.
And even though their family is more than able to provide for themselves, there's still a lot less food to go around.
Sure.
And so that's why she's so obsessed with it. Yeah. Or maybe she just really loves potatoes.
I mean, yeah, listen,
like I said, I get hangry,
and she legit gets rewarded with a potato in this episode.
And it made me so happy.
I was so happy for her in this moment, because like it's one of those things where like little tiny moments of joy and happiness in Attack on Titan are so few and far between.
They really are.
Just the look of pure bliss, especially after the freaking like day that she's had. Because this is still the same day. She only got to be home for like probably about 30 minutes before getting right back on the road.
Yeah, it was again, this episode really just, it brought me back, and I was like, I can't, like, I'm actually itching for that next episode now, because we're really into it, especially because now so many theories.
Yeah, we were talking last week about people who are waiting to just binge the whole thing all over again, and I'm not even gonna lie, I'm kind of envious of those people.
Right, because you don't have to wait to get answers. You know, for me, it's like when I watched the series initially, it was all out, it was all available, and maybe when I first started watching it, only the first half was there, but at any rate, like, I was able to watch all of it like in a weekend.
Yeah.
Once I made the commitment that I was like, okay, I'm really doing this. So yeah, it's rough to end on those like insane cliffhangers from week to week.
They're so good at it too.
Yeah, and speaking of cliffhangers, the cliffhanger last week was coming into Connie's village.
Yeah, and we picked up right there.
Yeah, it's completely empty. Houses are decimated. There are no bodies.
No.
That's what freaked me out.
Also,
Except
this giant deformed Titan
with a big head and little
T-Rex arms and little T-Rex legs, like literally cannot stand or walk or move in any way, shape, or form. And Connie is looking at this thing, and Megan, I know you pointed out last week that you felt that the eyes of the Titan were so similar to Connie's. Connie noticed that too.
Yeah.
He was like, guys, I think the Titan is, and they're like, we gotta go, let's leave.
You gotta love Reiner, just like, nope, can't even think about that right now, guys. Go ahead, Alexis.
No. Again, because my fiance is also engineering the show, he brought up a really great point of the fact that he was like, this is proving my fact that like these are
Proving
people.
my fact?
Yeah, no, I said it. I can't like when I was watching.
Like he knows for a fact that his theory is correct.
Yeah.
And he's just waiting for evidence to back it up.
You can ask him. He will say it. He has graphs and charts and diagrams. It's a whole
He's
thing.
got a murder wall.
Yeah. No, there's just strings. Our entire house is made of strings for Attack on Titan theories. But no, it did make sense to me that like the fact that there's when she said there was no blood in the entire place, I was like, this is too much of a coinky-ding to be happening. But I feel like these are people who are just becoming Titans.
Yeah. Well, there's not only that. There's no blood.
Yeah.
There
Right.
are no bodies.
Yeah.
There are no like disembodied anything.
Nothing.
The Titan that Connie's looking at that says "Welcome home" to him erupted out of his home. And there's no hole in the wall.
Nothing.
They assumed that there was a breach in the wall, and that's where the Titans came from.
Yep.
Right.
All of the horses are still in their stables.
Yep.
So if the town was evacuated, those people ain't gonna get very far, especially with Titans on the loose. So yeah, I feel like that theory. I feel like that's basically it. Whatever.
Yeah.
The question is, how?
I mean, I'm really upset because this priest won't open his dang mouth and just tell us why, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, let's talk about Pastor Nick for a little bit because first of all, he's so annoying. He's infuriating, but so quickly has a character who we were just like, basically throwaway character. Like I always think of the business owner from season 1 who was totally willing to let a bunch of people die just so he could get his stupid cart through the wall.
Stupid.
So I always think of that guy as like one-dimensional like characters that like no redeeming qualities whatsoever. And Nick, for me, when he was first introduced, I just thought he was a one-dimensional zealot.
Yep.
And then we get that scene with him and Hanji in the first episode, and here we see compassion and sorrow and regret in his expressions as he's seeing all these people who have now, whose homes have been decimated because of the Titans.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, it was interesting because obviously, like, in that first episode, we are certainly under the impression that he 100% knew that there were Titans in the walls, that the walls themselves are literally Titans.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, we were like, well, what the hell, man? Like, you're kind of the worst. And because basically
What's the deal, Nick?
Yeah, because his reaction was make sure it gets covered up by nightfall. Like don't let the daylight touch it.
Yeah.
Exactly, because as far as they know, though of course we find out that is not the case in this episode, Titans can really only be active during the daytime.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly.
Like, who made up this
I don't know.
game?
I don't know.
So stupid.
I know. I said it was like the opposite of Legend of Zelda. Like, anyway, but then in this episode, we see that like, yeah, okay, obviously he knows about it, but he's clearly dealing with like guilt about knowing about it and not revealing it. So you kind of wonder like, who's making him not reveal that he knows this?
What does the Order of the Wall have on him?
Right.
Or like, what is their mindset? Because we get the sense, just based on, maybe the organization as a whole is nefarious, but we get from just like looking at him, looking at all of these people, he doesn't necessarily want humanity to go down in flames. But at the same time, as they pointed out in the last episode, whatever secret he's keeping, if humanity has to go extinct as a result, then so be it. Seems to be his attitude. Orders, idea.
I just want to know what started all this. Also, why now? Because I mean, even in the beginning of the season, sure, we had our major titans, but like just all of a sudden now. I mean, I know that we're like within a span of a few weeks at this point, but like, why now are we making, and why this long for these villagers to now become titans?
Well, we were talking about it last week. It seems like it's not coincidence that the day that the inside man from, Annie, that the day she gets exposed happens to also be the same day that all of these titans
it's like a
just
really
magically
bad day.
and not at all a coincidence.
No, definitely not.
This is definitely a coordinated effort.
And I'm just trying to figure out, like, what is there, besides obviously getting rid of humanity, like, what's the other end game? What is the point?
Yeah. What's the motive?
Well,
what's the motivation?
Is it just because we're running out of food?
And especially too because obviously like there is something to do with like actual human beings becoming titans, but like not in the fun way. I mean, fun is the wrong word.
No, but not in a cool way, where you can like
not in the like Aaron or Annie kind of way, where like you are still sentient and in control. Like once you figure out that once you
in a giant kaiju fight,
like once you remember that it's you, like you good. But like I agree with you, Alexis. Like I feel like it has something to do with like overpopulation and consumerism. And
can you imagine being at that meeting? Okay, great. So we get rid of all of humanity. They become titans, but then they eat
themselves. Yeah, they eat themselves.
Yeah. So then what?
It could.
What happens then?
It could be not to go like too far into like prediction or theory territory, but it could be that Titans were originally man-made as like a weapon, and then it just spiraled out of control. Right. And they're like, wow, this did not go like the way we thought it would.
It's kind of like how the zombie situation happens in Resident Evil, where like it was supposed to be like an experimental drug to like make people into superhumans, but like the like earlier versions of it just made people into zombies, and even the ones that did make people into superhumans like made them into grotesque like mutations kind of, that could not survive.
Crazy Project Nemesis, like monstrosity.
Yeah, exactly.
I just feel like the end result is not going to be anywhere close to what they wanted, and then everyone's just going to die, especially if they're going to be starting to run out of their soldiers. Like I don't understand what's the point in that.
But another freaking bombshell that Nick drops is that not only is this not something he can just, information he can divulge at will, but you know what he can say? We were in charge of monitoring someone in the scout regiment who probably can reveal way more secrets than we ever could.
Yep.
Dang.
Yep.
So cute, adorable, darling. Will you marry me, Krista? Like, you... How? What?
I mean,
why?
It was so funny too when like Aaron and Mikasa and Armin were describing her. They're like, yeah, she's really tiny and she's adorable.
But again, I can see why, because you wouldn't suspect it from a tiny, adorable, cute thing. I guess.
I know we're not talking like manga spoilers at all, but there is a point at one time where Krista's talking to Reiner in the manga, and he's like, he just internal monologue. She's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm totally fine." And internal monologue, he's like, "Marry me." And that is the last time I will mention the manga. I just had to mention
That's
so
that.
cute.
I love that. Yeah, no, she's adorable. And I love that, like, we got a little bit of a conversation between her and Ymir and how, like, Krista chose to go into the military and join the Survey Corps, and, like, she shouldn't have, like, done as well as she did, but, like, Ymir... maybe potentially did poorly, so Krista would
clearly
place better in her class.
Goosebumps right now. And here's the thing: is like, I keep forgetting that Ymir isn't a member of the top 10.
No, she's not.
Because she and Krista are basically just attached at the hip.
Yeah.
And she's constantly teasing Krista, like, oh, you're my future wife.
I mean, listen, if I'm being real with you, like, they are my Attack on Titan OTP, so like,
because I believe someone said that. I mean, if you look up like 107 facts of Attack on Titan. I believe that the creator did say that they are a couple. I'm not quite sure if that's actually completely canon, but I'm taking it to the grave with me. Yeah,
but
I was like, yes, I need this in my life.
And not to mention that, like, if that's true, if she really did intentionally, like, stay out of the top 10, you know, she basically gave up going into the interior and living a really cushy life for Krista.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Is she motivated by love? Because, you know, she does make a point of going like, hey, I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. Oh, come on, I love you.
No, correct.
I just added that little line.
I mean, it's suggested that it has something to do with their past connections and Ymir's specifically to Krista's family. So
that's exactly it, because Krista brings up, is it because of my family? And Ymir says, yeah. And it's like, well, okay, well, who's your dad?
What's happening?
Related to anybody important? And here's the... If she is related to somebody, like, really important, why would they just allow her to go into the Survey Corps? Not to mention,
because they know what
Nick,
she is.
You're doing a really crappy job of monitoring her, and she's all the way out there right now without her goddamn gear.
Yeah. Again, taking the gear away was, like, not the greatest choice.
Again, maybe because she's just this amazing weapon that we don't know about yet. And that is why they're like, whatever, it'll be fine.
Krista actually is Wonder Woman in disguise.
You never know.
I'm down. That sounds great.
But, you know, what to kind of get back to it, is Ymir motivated by love, or, as I just pointed out, Pastor Nick doesn't seem to be really doing a good job of monitoring her, and there's this really weird edit. And the only reason I notice is because I pay hyper attention to any scene with Reiner in it, because Reiner's my favorite.
Yep.
So I pay hyper attention to any scene, and there's a scene towards the end of the episode where he gives her this really weird look. And it's like the edit was like we got cut into the middle of a scene.
Right.
And Attack on Titan is normally really well paced. And she gives him like this death glare. So I'm like, I feel like we're going to come back to this scene. Either that or this was a really poor edit for what otherwise will be a deleted scene on the DVD.
Right.
I don't know if Neil's up there, but I thought he saw something in that scene. I don't know if you're up there or anything, if you wanted to speak on that. But either way, I believe he said that he saw something in that scene, and that's why she gave him the death glare. I don't remember, because I kind of looked down and then looked back up during that point in time. So,
like, it looks like...
Oh, there it is.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
It looked like Reiner was holding a ring, which reminded me of the ring that Annie was wearing.
Oh, no. No.
This is why I brought this up.
And she glared at him with those very thin, evil-looking pupils, which is obviously an animation technique. So, I don't know. She didn't fit into my theory before, but Reiner fucking does.
Here's the thing. If she is, like, some sort of double agent-y type person, I don't think she's working with, like, whatever group Annie was involved in.
agree with you.
I feel like she's definitely working on behalf of the Order of the Wall.
Yeah.
For some reason, Ymir seems to be the type of person that just does not care.
Yeah.
She only she's like, look, I'm just living my life according to how I see fit.
Yeah.
Like, but then again, if she does feel this deep connection to Krista, then maybe that's what she feels like pursuing.
She needs
I
to
don't
do.
know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but I'm so excited that, like, we're finally focusing on them, because I love, like, as brief as they were, I loved their interactions from season 1.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad we're finally getting to see that develop. And then it looks like it's going to be a really significant plot point.
Yeah.
Given how clearly important Krista is.
Yeah, I like that they just, like, threw that in there immediately of, like, oh no, Krista's actually really super important, guys. Like, she was just kind of
Me too, though.
she was kind of around and adorable last season, and now, like, this is
There's
where
a
we're really
reason
getting
why.
into why she's around and adorable.
Yeah, no, and it's so good. Side note, by the way, does anybody feel like if you're... I know that shelter is important.
Sure.
Yeah.
especially when you're living in this world, and it's a terrible thing.
Yep.
But does anybody feel like heading over towards a creepy, probably haunted castle was like the probably last place you want to fortify yourself during a Titan attack?
Especially because it was just a tower. Like, it wasn't even anything major.
I was gonna say, it was not even really a full castle.
There were already ruins.
Yeah, there were like some walls around, and this one tower that's very narrow and very easily knocked downable.
Thank you. I was sitting there going, why is everybody in one place?
It's already half
Spread
rubble too.
Yeah.
And like, if it wasn't haunted before, it's
Probably
probably haunted now.
Yeah. It was just weird. As soon as they all started coming up and like hitting against the tower, I was like, I don't even know why you guys were in here in the first place.
Like, there's
Do
no
better.
There's no way that has the structural integrity to really stay
No, and
out
like
for
I
long.
understand, yes, you want to get like a vantage point on
Sure.
Titans, and we've definitely seen some really cool fight scenes in the previous season where like there was a Titan in the room and like we figured out how to like get up in the rafters and attack. But like the tower does not qualify. Like up in like a bunch of trees, sure, because there's like other trees around. Like in the event that the tree you are standing in gets knocked down, you just hop on over to the next tree. But there is nowhere to go once you go in that tower.
Yeah, and I just thought it was weird because there's actually nowhere for you to go. So when it was reminding me of like the other guys where they're like, aim for the bush and there's nothing there. They're just jumping off. But like, yeah, it just I don't understand what was the point in that.
Because there was literally nowhere else to go. I'm just waiting for it's just a Scooby-Doo setup though. We go to the haunted castle and then we're gonna split up and things are gonna be terrible.
Those darn kids.
It was Mr. Henderson.
Oh yeah, the Beast Titans running around going, and I would have gotten away with it too. It hasn't been for you meddling Survey Corps members.
Oh my god.
Speaking of, I really feel like the guy with the current kind of commanders of the 104th.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I don't know any of their names.
Who put them in charge?
I'm just really, I feel bad for Pompadour guy.
Pompadour guy.
I'm like, he's not long for this world.
Yeah.
First of all, he's in command and he's leading a group of scouts as they're checking the wall, and he's just freaking out. And I'm like, dude, you're supposed to be like
the structure.
leading these children, mind you, and you need to get it together. And like his battle cry is, I could be drunk right now if it wasn't for you.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I feel like he needs to get his life together.
I need Levi to come back.
I was gonna say, Eliara in the chat actually literally just asked, how long do you think Levi will be injured for? Will we see Levi action this season?
That injury that he had though was pretty gnarly.
It was pretty intense.
Yeah, so I don't know.
And that's the thing, is even injured though, and Grant, he's not at 100% and won't be for a long time, as my guess.
Right.
But even injured, he's still magic.
Yeah. Side note, that really makes a lot of sense. So Goddess Anime in the chat points out the Titans are not supposed to be able to move around at night, which maybe explains why they all went in the tower.
But
No. Here's the thing, guys, is we've already talked about this. We talked about this last week. Yes, Titans aren't supposed to be able to really move around at night, but Hanji did experiments. She conducted experiments.
That's true.
Some Titans get lethargic. Other Titans are like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah,
Like, I can stay awake. It's fine.
I feel like this is not the time to
Right.
be like sleeping on the
Sure,
fact that
sure.
we have weird Titans that are running around.
And the opening scene of the series involved the Survey Corps attacking a Titan at night.
That is true.
Guys, I don't know why the show keeps hammering in this idea is that, like, just
Right.
because it's nighttime, the Titans are like, oh yeah, there's no way they're gonna get us.
Yeah.
Oh, guys,
I feel like,
and
I
you
feel
know
like
it.
this is like a...
You studied this,
This
guys.
is like a breakdown of information. You know what I mean? Like, this is obviously like Hanji like knows, but because there's no like cell phones or Twitter, like they can't just like tweet about it and be like, oh, FYI, guys. Like they can't like publish it on the Hollywood Reporter or something.
To be fair, even though they do study it, like Hanji's the one conducting all these experiments where theories aren't necessarily 100% verified.
Sure.
And no one wants to talk to
Right,
Hanji
got it,
about
correct.
them.
Anyway.
Anyway, to kind of get back
Back to Levi.
I love him so
back
much.
to Levi, I feel like at some point, like, I feel like he's out of commission for right now, but I also feel like if the situation gets bad enough, he'll step in.
Yeah, I think so,
like
too.
he's like,
I do, too.
I'm not good, but like clearly these guys need help.
Yeah, but I also love that he was just like ordering everybody around in this episode. He's like, you're gonna do this thing.
Yes,
You
sir.
don't have a choice.
Yes, sir.
You're just gonna do it.
Now, kind of going off of that, like, how do you guys feel about the idea that Aaron could very well use his Titan body to plug up a theoretical, the hole doesn't exist, but that he could do
Okay,
that.
I think, yes, that makes sense to me that he could do it, but like, how do you go from like, I'm a living, breathing Titan to I am an actual piece of like rock metal?
Thank you.
Well, and and it's like, would he then be stuck in the wall?
No,
like,
I guess you
would
could try
he-
to get out.
Like,
because
would
Yeah.
you be able to get him
Well,
out?
I think he could abandon his like Titan body. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Because
Yeah.
obviously, like we have
Annie
seen
did it.
him be like pulled out of the Titan body before. Exactly, and
Yeah,
Annie
Annie-
just did
But the
it.
problem is that, like, I assume Annie knows how to do these things.
Yeah, I'm sure she does.
And we know that Titans have varying abilities. He might not even have the ability to do that. I assume he does,
See,
since
yeah.
Titans are made
See,
up of
I'm
the
a
wall.
garbage person, and I was like, just put Annie in the wall. It'll be fine.
Oh,
but no,
snap.
clearly I'm not going to do
She's
that.
like in a crystal
I
right
know.
now.
Yeah. Like, that was just me being like, she'll fit.
She's just taking she's taking like a crystal nap right
Yeah.
now or something.
She'll be fine.
It's a good thing that it's just a thing we have to think about in theory, because there is no hole in the wall,
No, there
as
isn't.
far as we
Right.
can tell. So it's a good thing that, like, that's a thing we can theorize.
But is it weird that I laughed at that picture of him just like into the
Well,
wall?
because his hair was fused into the wall.
Yeah, it was just weird, and I feel like, as much as I know that they probably think that would be a really good way of just like quickly patching up the wall with like some spackle, but like it doesn't spackle. It seems like a quick fix. It doesn't seem like it will be a long-term thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Yeah.
also, what happens if, let's say, okay, we're gonna put Aaron in the wall, and as they're starting to do that, more Titans come
Right.
through.
Or like decide to unwallify like that one we saw earlier where
Yeah.
there's just like the face in the wall. Like,
Like, what are we supposed to do with that? I don't know. I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, and the other thing is too is that it's kind of one thing to oh, go ahead. What?
oh no, Eiji Nizuma in the chat says, yes, fill the wall with Annie. Great
I
plan.
don't feel as
Great
much as a
plan.
terrible person.
It's one thing to be like Hanji and to be like, hey, Aaron, do you think you can do this? And it's a completely different thing for Levi to go, no, you don't have a choice. It's like, counterpoint, if he can, you want a backup plan.
Yeah, you might want a plan B.
And Levi just seems to be the type of person that's like, leave the backup plan to Irvin.
Oh my
That's his job.
Irwin.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. But yeah, I agree with you guys. I just feel like this is not a sound plan. I think this is just for now.
Yeah, it's not. And clearly, like, we're seeing Titans exhibiting more capable behavior because obviously, like, we have and I mean, as previously discussed, like, Hanji had done some experiments. We knew that there were definitely Titans that were capable of being awake at night, but this is the first time that we've really seen, like, a whole bunch of them stage an assault on something.
Wait. Okay, so maybe, like, if these Titans actually did come from the village, maybe that's if Titans are man-made,
Oh my god,
maybe
sorry, I just
that's
hit that.
maybe that's an intentional design.
Yeah.
Like all of our beta Titans, they're not really so good at night. Let's give the upgraded patch.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, well, and I mean, also, like, you know, we're seeing now, obviously, the Beast Titan that really looks more like
So
a
confused.
gorilla than a person.
Especially if like, assuming he's part of, like, whatever's behind all this.
Right.
He's clearly capable of learning.
Oh my God, yes.
And adjusting accordingly.
I mean, and that's exactly what I was saying last week, where it was like, you know, when he, like, took the piece of the 3D maneuver gear, it was like, he's clearly observing his environment and learning and evolving. I mean, we see him jump over the wall.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is so unsettling. Like, he scales the wall and looks back at the castle and goes, not important.
Not
It just
interested.
keeps going. Like, and that's something we, the last time we saw something like that, it was Annie trying to scale the wall to get out.
Right.
And so it's so, like, clearly something outside the wall is where, I don't know.
But you're also like, is this Titan, like, made from an animal that is not a human being because it resembles
It's
more
of a
primitive.
Sasquatch
Yeah, it looks like more of a
Titan.
primitive kind of creature than a deformed human.
That, and if we're kind of to take that with kind of what we see in the opening,
I mean, I was assuming because the fact that since he's the only one of his kind, I'm assuming like before we had like maybe regular Titans or even before we started experimenting on humans alone, maybe they were doing it on animals at one point. And then eventually there was just that one who just was just super intellectual. Maybe someone was like the person who was creating this creature was very tightly bonded with it, probably tried to teach it Japanese and trying to go through all of that and language and things, and then eventually something happened, something snapped, whatever.
Since we see dinosaurs in the opening, I feel like medieval Europe was just trying to create Jurassic Park.
Yeah, we got Chupacabra instead.
And everything went terribly wrong from there.
I mean,
although, you know
That's
what?
legit.
The dinosaurs make me laugh in the opening, but you know what else kind of also fills me with a weird sort of joy? There's a giant giraffe.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and Hassan points out too that there's a flying whale. Like,
What's that about?
I feel like that part of the opening sequence is so weird. Where like they show everybody, and it starts with like everybody in the Survey Corps is like standing at attention, and they like show you, glowing where their hearts are in their body, and then it just like evolves into all of these living things also have hearts.
That's why I think that there at one point we were experimenting on animals because like I feel like the whole heart thing, even though it reminds me of that weird commercial of heartburn or whatever. Like, I think someone intercut that with that commercial. But anyway,
I agree with you.
But I think that that's what it is because I mean, as much as we know that Japanese openings usually are kind of like, this has nothing to do with
it really
this.
has nothing to do with the show.
But I feel like that's way off.
Yeah,
to be
I agree.
not part of the show.
Well, and I think too, it's like obviously one of the things that I really enjoy about Attack on Titan is the fact that they are very much, even though yes, okay, we're trying to survive, we're trying to figure out a way to like stop the Titan onslaught and not live in fear and terror for all of our lives. The other thing that I like about it is the whole idea of actually we want to find out like why this is happening and where these things came
answers.
from.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's in the basement?
Right.
What's in the basement?
Right. It's not. What is in the guys? What is in the dang basement?
Paltrow's head.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, I'm just glad that we're finally getting to that now.
Now, I actually while we were talking, I actually had a thought about, because it looks really ridiculous in the opening to have a flying whale and kind of a flying water dinosaur. But I'm thinking about it and, what you said about experimenting on animals. And I really hope the show doesn't go this route.
Oh, boy.
But maybe part of whatever force decided to create the Titans, maybe it was trying to bring like the planet back into equilibrium. Because constant commentary in literally just about every show and movie is humanity is bad for the planet.
Right.
And so what if that scene with the Beast Titan in the opening isn't a literal scene of like giant dinosaurs and other giant animals like that? What if it's just symbolic of the fact that he is on the side of nature?
I mean, that would make
this
sense.
war.
Even though he did hurt a horse, though, so I don't know how to feel about that.
But it was a domesticated horse.
That's true. That is true. But the horse doesn't know that. It's just doing its thing.
It's just a good horse.
It's just a good horse, man. It's not fair. But I can see that being a thing of him being like, animals in the wild should be taking over this planet instead of you guys taking in my kind and making it into
humanity when allowed the freedom that it has had in the past destroys.
Maybe it was a person who just couldn't stand humans anymore, went out into the wild, decided that he wanted to make animals smarter, and maybe it was failing every time, so he experimented on himself with some sort of beast, and he became the Beast Titan.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to he's like, I have the power.
Classic Henry Jekyll move.
Yeah.
Never experiment on yourselves,
I definitely do think that there is some merit, to the idea that there is something in this about sort of like the failing of humanity and their sort of tendency to destroy one another. And so you could see why, again, as you say, Alexis, like the Beast Titan is on the side of nature and animals.
And there's also a lot of comment, you know, especially in the first season and with the first opening too, with that first arc, humanity has essentially been relegated to the role of cattle.
Sure,
And you know, and that's something that we can't stand because in the past we've been the dominant species. At least in this other world, I also assume that that's the truth. And it's in our nature to kind of try to conquer and dominate. So like, I can understand if at some point some external force was like, enough of that.
Well, because it is absolutely also about the idea that, you know, humans are no longer the top of the food chain. Like, we have nothing in our own reality that we have to fear more than ourselves.
Except for sharks and lions.
Tigers and bears, all mine.
No, not even remotely.
So that, you know, now you're placing humanity in this situation of, okay, like we are actually the legit prey of something. And so we have to, like, you know, band together to try to, like, put a stop to that. But
which is really difficult because our urge is to tear each other apart.
Right, and also with the collapse of society, you see human beings becoming, like, the worst possible versions of themselves in a very, you know, Walking Dead-esque manner.
Well, that's why, I mean, I know that we're pretty much in prediction territory at this point in time.
The whole thing, man.
I do want to bring up one other aspect about just a few other side characters that we see very briefly. Captain Rico makes a quick appearance.
One of my anime doppelgangers.
As does Hans, who I like that the show took some time to reacquaint us with a few characters that we haven't seen in 4 years.
Sure.
And they had very minor roles in the first season, so it's nice to get a reminder of like, hey, remember how cool Captain Rico is?
She is pretty cool.
You remember how Hans like owed Aaron's dad a favor? Hey, these guys are still running around out here.
Thank goodness.
I do love Captain Rico. She's just so cool.
Yeah, she's rad.
Like like
she doesn't have time for anybody's crap. You know
no,
what I
and
mean?
it's fantastic.
And I feel bad because I forget the actual character's name, but Chris Sabat's character in season 1 is just constantly freaking out, and she's just cool and calm and collected as a cucumber.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
she's
I
great.
know. I would like to point out that Megan literally just wrote Rico, Hannes, and Chris Sabat.
Oh my God, you did! That is how it's in my notes.
Guys, there's a lot of German names in this show.
I can't keep track, guys. I try so hard.
And it's really hard figuring out how to pronounce what, especially when it's it's German, translated into Japanese,
translated back in English. But my question is, where is Jean? Because like
he's still in the interior.
I know, but like why is he not on the show? Because like I love him.
I miss Jean.
We still have time. It's only 3 episodes.
I hope he comes back soon because Jean is so great. But yeah, we should probably go ahead and walk on into predictions. Official predictions. Because this has just been the theory hour with Alexis and Megan.
But I mean, we have enough time to do that.
I predict that people will get eaten by titans.
I feel like that's a solid prediction.
I like that prediction. Well, no, I wanted to talk about a little bit before we like completely dip out on that, the whole nature versus human kind of thing.
Go for it.
Maybe, this is just me just like really spitballing at this point in time, maybe that's why we have titans in the first place. Maybe they found out that the scientist or whoever this person is trying to like make an army of beasts or something like that.
Right, to like take down
and so they're like, whatever, we'll make an army of humans.
And then it just goes terribly awry. But I mean, that might be too far-fetched.
El Yara in the chat asks, will we get an opening 2 this season? No, because this season's only going to be 12 episodes.
That would mean we'd have 6 episodes with this current opening and then 6 with a new one.
I mean, it's possible, I guess, but
I am assuming these 12 episodes are one arc, like the Battle of Troy. Sure,
that
sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
That hurts my soul.
I have no idea. My prediction. Okay, you guys remember how earlier I mentioned that Reiner's my favorite
Yes,
character?
yes, twice, yes.
I am really excited about this next episode because it looks like we finally get a little bit
Yes.
of backstory for
Yes.
him. Literally, my favorite moment in the series was the moment he escaped from the female Titan because
Yeah.
it's like one of the few moments of
Yeah.
like true triumph that you have. And so after that, I fell in love with that character.
And
so
I'm
really
cheating
excited.
a little bit from reading the chat, but I predict something is up with Bertolt because Aliara pointed out, what's the deal with him? I'm getting weird vibes.
You know what?
I was getting weird
And
vibes
someone
too.
in the chat said, oh, there's a reason.
No!
He was, you know what? It's so interesting because when we're in Connie's village, you know, Reiner is there comforting Connie and
Right.
like, you know, at least a little bit. And,
And Bertolt had been the one that was
just-
like gung-ho about going there in the first place.
he was
so weird.
super uncomfortable. Like you could, and granted, they've stumbled upon a very scary scene, but Bertolt has always been really quiet. And like while they were there, he was like, "Yeah, sure, let's do that, I guess."
Yep.
Do you guys think that he could also be a Titan?
You know what? If Ymir is a double agent
Yeah.
for Pastor Nick,
Right.
and Annie, you know, was also a double agent.
yeah.
Honestly, you should throw any and all trust you have right out the window right now.
Yep.
And you know what they say? Don't trust the quiet ones.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I was like, maybe.
Yeah.
Don't trust the quiet ones.
No one.
Well, I think
yeah,
on that
yeah.
note, don't trust the quiet ones. I think that just about does it for
It
this
does.
week.
It does.
Alexis, where can people go if they want to find you?
Oh man, you guys can find me all over the interwebs at atorres890. Man, I've got 8 shows running at current.
Oh, jeez.
So I am on the. I'm like right with you, Emma, with all of the stuff that you have going on. But like, yeah. So I have this. I have Into the Badlands. I have Jedi Alliance. I have Bob's Burgers. Whenever that comes back.
Yeah, this Sunday.
This Sunday,
Yeah.
yes. And then I have 3 other shows that I can't remember off the top of my head. Winona Earp and a few other things that are also going to be coming back that I will be a part of.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Emma Fyffe.
I'm Emma Fyffe. I can be found all over social media at my name, Emma Fyffe. I am on the Bob's Burgers after show as well with Alexis. Also, a reminder that I also am a frequent guest on Collider TV Talk, and we are doing a trial run of doing that show on a daily basis. That is May 1st through 5th. We'll be streaming live at 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific time / 11 o'clock, 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific time / 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll be streaming live. We'll be there every single day talking about all the shows on TV, all the DC superhero shows. American Gods will be on by then. Fargo will be back.
Oh, snaps.
Also, Handmaid's Tale. Like, it's going to be some good stuff. As well as continuing to talk about Doctor Who and White Princess, both of which we covered on the show today.
Nice.
So please, guys, tune in because if that does well, then we'll be going daily for the foreseeable future, and I will have a job, which is a good thing. Yeah, and then also be sure to check out on twitch.tv/hyperrpg. That is HyperRPG's YouTube channel. Every Friday night at 9 o'clock p.m. I am part of a show called Pencils and Parsecs. It is a Star Wars RPG, and it is amazingly fun. Yeah, it's super great. You guys should definitely watch it. It's a good time.
Do it. Be sure to follow Katie on social media at Kiaje. And you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Menguin. That's TheMenguin. I am also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, and I write articles for The Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out. Be sure to also check out The Shadow Remastered on YouTube. I will tweet out links for that. Anyway, and thank you guys so much for watching. We'll do iTunes shout-outs next week.
Yeah.
We will see you all next time.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.